Hello everyone and welcome to the special Diwali edition chat of De Moderne India, in which we are discussing today the importance of Kamala Harris's win for women in India and Norway. I am Anindya Upadhyay, your host for this chat, and we have two accomplished ladies with us who will throw light on the topic. Vårin Alme, a political scientist and TV commentator, and Rina Sunder, author of the book and founder of the association called De Moderne India. When the 2020 presidential election was called, much of the world's attention was on the new president-elect Democrat Joe Biden. But for many women and people of color, the main center of attraction was Biden's running mate, Kamala Harris. The confirmation that Harris would be the first female, first Black, and first Asian American vice president sent happy shockwaves across not just the US, but everywhere in the world. Kamala Harris has been shattering glass ceilings throughout her career, one at a time, becoming the first Black woman to be elected district attorney in San Francisco and the first woman, first Black American, and first Asian American to be California's Attorney General. But the vice presidency feels different and much more impactful than all those positions, certainly. I want to bring in here Vårin to tell us more about the role of a vice president in the US, and in that capacity, how is it that Harris can make a difference?
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me today. So when you look at the history of vice presidents in America, that history is very white, very male, and often you have older inhabitants of the office. So as you were touching upon, Kamala Harris represents a lot of firsts in that regard alone. And when it comes to the vice president's role, the most important task is to be a stand-in should something happen. That could be if the president got sick, or if there was an emergency of some kind that made it impossible for the president to do his job for a period of time. That would mean the vice president could step in, but also should the worst happen and the president die, then the vice president takes over. So that is the main job. But also you have beyond that both informal and formal roles that the vice president has. That varies according to the relationship between the vice president and the president. So for instance, you had Joe Biden himself as vice president for Barack Obama, and they had a very close working relationship where Joe Biden wasn't just a close advisor, but he was also tasked with several significant policy areas himself, such as on foreign policy, on cancer research, and things like that. And my guess is that the relationship between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden will be quite similar, that Kamala Harris will be tasked with important policy areas. That could be within criminal justice reform, within immigration, it could be on healthcare, we don't know. But my guess is she would have a central role in policy and, for instance, head the task force, something like that. But it could also be in the form as advisor. I think she would be a close advisor on policy for President Joe Biden. And I think she would be what we, in a cliche, call the last person in the room after he's had important meetings and so on.
Okay, that's really interesting, I think, for all of our viewers to know, and even for us. And now I'll just touch a little bit upon Harris's Indian heritage. So Tulasendrapuram village in Thiruvarur district of Tamil Nadu in South India is Kamala Harris's ancestral village, where a lot of prayers were offered for her success, and then traditional colored powder is used to make auspicious drawings and paintings, dry paintings on the floor, which are called rangolis, which were made by the women there to congratulate her. So I want to bring in Rina Sunder here and ask her what Harris's win could mean for India and Indian women.
First of all, please allow me to wish you both a happy Diwali. Today's Diwali. I also wish a happy Diwali to our viewers. Anindya, I have been having Norwegians congratulating me on Kamala Harris winning as vice president. This just shows how the world is taking note that an Indian American woman is occupying the second highest political office in the US. As for what it means to Indian women, I think if you look at Indians in general, we have already witnessed a wave of global CEOs of Indian origin. Google is headed by an Indian. Microsoft is headed by an Indian. And the world is familiar with Indra Nooyi, who was heading PepsiCo for more than a decade. So with Kamala Harris entering the scene, I think this is a feather in the hat for all Indians, that we have the capacity to, my phones, that we have the capacity to rise. But I think this has much more powerful message, not only for Indians, but for Asian women, for African women, for Latin American women, and also for white women. Because as Vårin, as she said, there's a lot of firsts here. She's the first female having this powerful position. But this definitely shows that Harris' biracial heritage represents abilities to approximate whiteness in regards to education levels and income. She is undoubtedly a powerful symbol, just like Barack Obama was. That was also history when he won. And she's a voice for progressive Asian Americans because she has been raised by a single mom. For many people of color and women who have been marginalized, and they maybe wonder if they're welcome in the US, if they belong to the US, I think she definitely shows all the immigrants in the US that they do belong to the US, that US is their country. So yes, she's Indian, she's Asian, but I think the symbol here is like creating waves all over the world.
So Vårin, I'd just like to take Rina's point a little further, and I'll ask you, do you think Harris could make working and living in the US for immigrants easier in general?
Well, that's an interesting point. And I think both on symbolism and on policy, that could be the case for Harris and for the Biden-Harris presidency, vice presidency. You do have concrete areas of policy, such as President Trump's Muslim ban that will now be backtracked. You also have policy areas such as DACA, which refers to the Dreamers Act, which was a policy created by the Obama administration that allowed people that had grown up in the United States and, for instance, accompanied their parents coming illegally to the United States, but as children. So essentially being American, it allowed them to have a pathway to citizenship. So policy areas such as these will be priorities for the Biden-Harris ticket. And I also think you shouldn't ignore the symbolism of all the firsts that Kamala Harris represents. She also, in addition to being raised by a single mom, she now represents a new sort of modern family in the vice president's residence, in that she's part of a modern family. She and her husband, they have 2 children, and she is their stepmom, and they call her Mamala.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. Rina, a lot of women, and you'd already know that in India, even in Norway, we've already had women heads of state. And even now we have Jacinda Ardern in New Zealand, we have Aung San Suu Kyi in Myanmar. We already have had a lot of female heads of state, including in India and Norway. Why, in your opinion, is Harris's win so special, and how can it impact India-US relations?
It will impact the US-India relations, but let's take a step back. As you just said, a female entering such a high-level political position. I'm Norwegian, I'm raised in Norwegian, Vårin is also Norwegian. We have been blessed that we live in the most, the best country for women, where we are given immense opportunities, nobody raises questions whether you're single or divorced, or, the opportunities are just out there for us to grab. And I think my generation will never forget when our previous Prime Minister Gro Harlem Brundtland, in 1986, she also made headlines worldwide because she had 8 female ministers in her cabinet. So at least we have witnessed in Norway a lot of strong, competent women having high-level positions, even in the ministries of our current Prime Minister Anna Solberg, the finance minister post, the defense minister post, the foreign minister post, were all headed by females. But when it comes to India and US, today's Diwali. And if we take a step back and look at US-India relations, 2009 was special because that was the first time in the history that an American president wished India and Indians a happy Diwali. And at that time, Joe Biden, he was the vice president of Barack Obama. And Biden played a critical role in the US South Asia strategy. So with Biden and Kamala Harris winning the elections, for sure, there will be some kind of continuity in the Indian and US ties on various fields. But if we look at how India and the government of India reacted to Harris winning, let's mention a few of the things that Narendra Modi posted and wished for Kamala Harris. He said, I wish you path-breaking success in the US elections. And he said, it's a matter of immense pride for all Indian Americans. And this is interesting because this ministry, as you probably know, Anindya, is working very hard to reach out to the Indian diaspora worldwide. You know, they have a very big policy on that. And he also wrote, I'm confident that the vibrant India-US relationship will get even stronger with your Kamala Harris support. And it is a matter of pride for all Indians. So I'm looking forward to see, as Vårin is saying, there's a lot of things on the table for this duo. But I strongly believe that the symbol of all the firsts will be written in the books of histories.
That's right, Rina. And I think that's why it's important to reiterate Kamala Harris's speech over here when she says, while I'm the first woman in this office, I'm not the last one. So we really hope that Harris's ascension to this important position not only inspires women all over the world, which it is already doing and it's going to do more, but it also creates the right environment for people in all countries where there are not so many opportunities for women, and women have struggled a lot more to reach good positions in career and break that glass ceiling. These women and these countries also create opportunities and a better conducive environment by the inspiration of Harris being there in the second most powerful position in the US. So thanks a lot, Rina and Vårin, for your time. Happy Diwali to you and happy Diwali to all our viewers. Thanks a lot for being here.